welcome back to Gyro Ranger, your #1 channel for ethical hacker resources and walkthroughs. Back at you today with another video. Today we're going to be looking at a box from TryHackMe called Different CTF. This is one of their newer boxes, and this one has a difficulty rating of hard. Before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to all the subscribers out there. We hit the mark of 25 subscribers in as little as this time as this channel's been going. So just want to say thank you to everybody who's actually been supporting this channel, and hopefully we can get a lot more subscribers coming in. So 25 is the first mark. We're going to see how fast we can get to 50. So if you're enjoying these videos, remember, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell, and it'll notify you each time we have a new video. And my intent is to keep pushing out media on these boxes, especially the new boxes, to help you along and help you walk through instead of having to read through a lot of the walkthroughs that they post. So with that, let's go ahead and begin this video. All right, so after kicking off this video, we can already get the IP address for the machine. And the first question we have here when we look at this room, it's going to ask us how many ports are open. Now, you guys have seen enough videos of me here that we usually, to figure this out, we run an nmap. So I went ahead and created a folder called the different CTF, and I've already ran an nmap. And opening it up and we take a look at, we can see that the nmap currently has 2 ports that are open. We have port 80, which is usually an HTTP site. So we got Apache running here, and we can already see that it is for Ubuntu. And we see port 21 here open for FTP. So we have an FTP that is running on this machine. All right, so to figure out the first answer to our question, I think you can see right here, we've got 2 ports open. So let's go ahead and drop that in. Now, the next thing that's going to come up here is going to ask us, what is the name of the secret directory that is running on this machine? So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here, and we're going to actually bring up a terminal, and let's go ahead and fuzz this website. So when we start fuzzing this website, there are different tools out there that are available. And actually, my new go-to for fuzzing any website or any type of credentials has been FFUF. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a fuzz on a common word list for websites. And I'm only going to go 1 layer deep on this machine. So let's go ahead and start running this and see exactly what comes up. So after running a test on the common word list and fuzzing just the first layer, we can already see we get a good amount of web pages that actually pop up, and immediately we see a couple different things. First off, phpMyAdmin is actually running on this site, and actually with this word list, this common word list, this will actually give you what the actual secret directory is that you need to be able to move to find out the next step of this puzzle. But another couple things here that we can immediately pull from this, and that's very important, is that we're running a WordPress site here. So WordPress already kind of tells me exactly a couple different directions we want to go with next on this. So let's go ahead and drop that answer in and move to the next step. Once we move to that secret directory that TryHackMe had us going and moving to, the first thing that it's going to want us to do is it's going to want us to go to the next step, which is to determine what the actual web flag is for the web page. So to determine the web flag, we need to first go to the secret directory. We need to go ahead and grab both of these documents that are here in the directory, which I already have done. Now, once you have that, and immediately I see there's a JPEG here and there's a word list. So whenever I see a JPEG, the first thing I want to do is I want to actually run a Stegseek. Now, I know there's StegHide you can run, but again, there's actually a great tool you can call Stegseek. And when you use Stegseek, it'll actually blow through a list of words. So first thing you would think to do is to actually drop in the raw queue. And usually with StegHide, it can take a while. But as you can see, if you run it through Stegseek, it blows through that extremely fast. And you can see there's nothing that it found as a valid passphrase. Well, they do provide you a word list in this directory. So the next thing I would want to do and try is to run it against the word list. And once you run it against the word list, immediately it finds that there's a passphrase called 123 Adana anti-war. And the file name is userpass.ftp.txt, and it drops it out. So this right here is the passphrase that you want to be able to find. Okay, once we found the password out, and now we actually have an extracted file in the directory, we're going to go ahead and run an ls, and you'll see that now we have a document that was recently put out called Australian Bulldog and JPEG out, which was originally called the user and password for FTP text. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cat the Australian JPEG.out, and immediately you're going to be given this string of letters. More than likely what you're immediately going to think is that this is some kind of hash, and you would be right. So what you want to do is take this hash, head back over to Firefox, and pick up whatever hash analyzer you like, or you can run it in Kali too. Go ahead and drop it in and submit and identify it, and immediately you're going to be given the FTP login and what the username is and the password to getting into the FTP. Once we have the username and the password, we know the next steps. Let's go ahead and pull up our terminal, and let us go ahead and FTP this site. Let's go ahead and grab our IP address again, go ahead and drop it in. And our password. All right, so once we're inside, we can go ahead and run a simple lsal. And we can see immediately that we have a lot of directories, or excuse me, a lot of files and a few directories here that are very, very important for a WordPress site to immediately run, and a bunch of PHPs in here. So immediately in my head, I'm thinking that I want to run a reverse PHP shell to be able to get on this machine. So what we need to also do is we need to go ahead and head back over to Firefox, and let's go ahead and pull up this website, take a look at it. So we pull up the WordPress site, we can already see it's very, very simple WordPress site. Not much is really on here, maybe one comment. We do have a user here called HeyCanBay01, so let's go ahead and remember that. We have a login page here, but nothing else from there. Now, one of the things that, if you remember, when we actually ran a Fuzz on the website, was that there was also the PHP my admin that popped up. So let's go ahead and head over there. And when that pops up, you're going to be presented with a username and a password. So obviously, we probably want to get in here so we can go ahead and determine a lot of the functionality of the website. So let's head back over to our terminal where we're actually running an FTP. And let's go ahead and change directory to the root desktop CTF. And let's go ahead and get the wp config PHP file. Let's pull that over, and let's head back over here to the directory, and let's go ahead and cat that, and let's take a look at this directory and this page. And you can already immediately see on this text file, or this PHP file, that there is a DB password and there is a DB user that's provided in here. So let's go ahead and take the user, and let's go ahead and take the password, and let's go ahead and head back over to phpMyAdmin. Once you log into the phpMyAdmin, the first thing you're going to see that's going to catch your eye is that there's actually two different phpMyAdmins here. So when you look at it, and you take a look at the WP options first on phpMyAdmin, you're going to see that the site URL is adana.thm. So we can add this into our Etsy hosts. But if you take a look at phpMyAdmin1 and you look at the WP options on this one, you're going to see that they run a second website here called http subdomain adana.thm. So let's go ahead and drop both of these URLs into our hosts file on the system, and let's see if there's a difference between them, because I think there's something a little fishy going on here, running both two different sites with one having an actual subdomain. Okay, we dropped the IP address and both of the hosts onto our machine. Let's head back over to Firefox and let's go ahead and run adana.thm. And then over here, let's go ahead and run another one. And let's call this one subdomain.adana.htm. And you're going to immediately see that there are actually two websites that mirror each other. This is the adana.thm, and this is the subdomain.adana.thm. The only difference that you really can see is that this one actually has a signature below it of Hankan Bay. So this lends me to believe that on this Linux machine that there are two different directories being hosted in the var directory. And so if I'm going to inject a reverse PHP shell, we need to know exactly which one that we're going to be talking to. So let's go ahead and head back over to our FTP. And we probably need to go ahead and refresh this FTP since it timed out. Let's go ahead and FTP back in there. And when we're in here, let's go ahead and ls back in here. And let's go ahead and grab the index.php. And once we grab the index.php file, let's go ahead and open up another tab. Let's go ahead and sublime this file here. And let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. So this is a basic PHP. So what I'm going to do is I am going to head over to my toolkit and I'm going to pull up one of my favorite reverse PHP shells. I'm probably going to copy and paste this and drop this back over to the WordPress site and see if we can't get this to kick over for us. And pulling up the reverse PHP shell here, you can immediately see I've pulled this one from GitHub and it's pretty detailed. It's got all the details here from the user, and I'll go ahead and link it in the video. Just drop your IP address and the port that you want to be able to listen on, and that's all you have to do. So go ahead and Control-A this, Control-C, come back to the PHP file, give yourself a little room, and go ahead and drop it in. And then once that's dropped in, go ahead and save this file still as index.php, come back to your FTP, and let's see if it's still running. It might have timed out. Nope, still going. And let's go ahead and change to binary mode. And let's go ahead and put the index.php back in with the reverse PHP shell on there. And once that's done, come back over to terminal, go ahead and drop a netcat, and let's go ahead and listen on port 4444. Drop that in there. Let's head back over here. Let's go ahead and try it on the adana.index.php. And let's see if that kicked, and nothing kicks. So let's go ahead and come over here to the subdomain, and let's go ahead and drop this as the index.php, run that, let it go, come back over here, and we have a shell. So what we were thinking was correct. There are two different versions in the var file probably. And if we come back over here and we look at where we are, we can go ahead and see we're at the home page, the home directory right there. So let's go ahead and head over to var. Let's go ahead and head over to www. Let's see what's in here. And you can immediately see there's an HTML and there's another one called subdomain. So it seems that the FTP was actually taking you to the subdomain file. So if you would have actually dropped anything in here, it would not have kicked if you were trying to access it from the regular Adana.thm. That's kind of a little sneaky there that they created a clone under the subdomain. So once you go ahead and kick that in, you're immediately in this machine, and we can go ahead and start working through here. All right, once we're inside the machine, we're going to already kind of see that the shell we have is a pretty minimal shell. So let's go ahead and run a very simple command to go ahead and get a somewhat more robust shell on here so we can at least see what we're working with, not only the current directory we're in, but also the host name and what user we're working here. And you can already see it when we came in, very, very limited rights we have here. We have read and write only in certain areas, so not too much here. So now that we're in here, we can go ahead and kind of just root around the machine. Let's go ahead. We've already seen what's in subdomain. Let's go ahead and see what's actually in HTML. Let's go ahead and see in there. Everything is ran through here through root, but we can also see that the web flag is right here. So let's go ahead and cat that, bring it up. And there's your flag to go ahead and put in for your web flag. All right. So the next thing we need to do then is now start moving over to our user flag and find out what our user flag is. So once we have the user flag, we now need to go ahead and start moving over and finding out next flag for the user flag. Let's go ahead and pop back out to HTML. Let's go ahead and head back into subdomain because we need to work in this area for subdomain. Now, once we are in subdomain, let's go ahead and run another LSAL. You'll see that the user here is HeyCanFTP, and we actually know the password for HeyCanFTP. So let's go ahead and drop that in. So let's go ahead and switch our user to HeyCanFTP. So password, we already know. Drop that in, change the user, and now we have HeyCanFTP. All right. So now that we have HeyCanFTP, we need to be able to change the user on this. So we need to determine who the other user is on this machine. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at the home directory and find out which users are in here. And we can see the other user, as we saw on the other web page, is HeyCanBay. So we're going to go ahead and remember that. And let's go ahead and head back over to our subdomain, because we need to get some files over on this machine to be able to get everything to kick on this machine. Find out what the password is for HeyCanBay, because immediately your first thing you're going to see on here is that you're very limited again. If I run an ID on this, you're going to see that it's very limited for the rights for this, but there is some execution ability different on this one. Instead of just read and write, there are some additional privileges that HeyCanFTP does have. So let's head back over to the FTP and let's go ahead and drop some documents or some programs on here and see if we can't figure out a way to get the password for HeyCanBay on this machine. All right, so let's go ahead and drop a couple documents or a couple programs on this machine. So we're still in the DCTF. I dropped a couple things in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the word list that we found actually on this machine, because this had a separate amount of word lists. I got to set this on binary, so let's do that time so we don't make sure we don't have any problems with that file. And then once we drop the word list on there, there's a program or a tool that I love to run inside of a Linux machine if I have the rights, and I think I may know possible word or password that's tied to a user, and I know the specific users I'm hunting for. So I'm going to drop a program that's called SuCrack onto this machine. And once SuCrack is on this machine, I'm going to head back over to our shell on here, make sure that everything came over, and see that we have the word list and the SuCrack RGZ. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and install this onto this machine and run this against the word list. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run a tar xfz on the SuCrack box. Let's go ahead and copy it in. And once it's untarred, let's go ahead and head over to the SuCrack. And once we're in the LSCrack, let's go ahead and head over into configure. Go ahead and get configuring on this machine. Let's go ahead and make. And let's go ahead and head over to the source. Once we're in here, we can run SuCrack at any point in time and execute it in against a word list. All right, once we're in here, let's go ahead and grab that word list and actually bring it over. So we're going to go ahead and copy the word list right where we are. We have it in here. And we do. And we want to go ahead and run a crack against this. But immediately, what we have to remember here is that when we logged in with HeyCanFTP, there was a specific beginning to that password. And if you actually come over here and you actually sublime the word list that's in here, you'll see that all the passwords here that's in this list, which is a very long and robust list, does not have that beginning. So if you try running an SuCrack with the current word list on here, it's not going to work. And it will take a while to run through, and you'll learn that there's something that's missing through this. So what do we need to do? Well, what we need to do is we actually need to add that beginning to each one of the words in that list and create a new word list for ourselves. So this comes back to your basic, Linux commands and learning how to be able to run this on there. So if anybody remembers good old sed will actually help us with this. And so we're going to go ahead and tell it that we want to go ahead and start every single word with that specific string and drop it onto the word list. We want to go ahead and call this wordlist2.txt. So now, anytime that we run the wordlist2, we should have every single word at the beginning starting with that portion of string that we had dropped on there. So once that's done, we have everything set up now. We can go ahead and drop in the user we're looking for and the wordlist2.txt that we want to go ahead and run this again. And we're going to go ahead and start running this on this machine with 100 threads a second. And hopefully we will come back with a password for the user, HeyCanBay. Takes about a minute or two. I mean, once it's done running, you will have the password. And once that's done, let's go ahead and grab that password and let's go ahead and change our user to HeyCanBay. Drop that password in. Oop, password. Do that again. Switch our user to HeyCanBay. Drop the password in. And now we are HeyCanBay. We should be able to go ahead and head over to the home and go into HeyCanBay's directory. Pop in there. Find that there is a user text there. At the user text. And find the user flag. And there's your user flag right there for the user. Drop that in for the user flag, and let's go ahead and move over to the root flag. And this one's going to be a fun one to find out. So to find the root flag, what we got to do is we got to go back to the machine again. We're in the shell. Got the user flag. now have a full user on this machine. And looking at this user, we have some more privileges, including some administrative privileges on this machine. So next step everybody should always look for is we need to start looking for SUID elevations possibly on the machine. So usually run this code. There's a couple different variations of it, but we're going to run it through and let it run. You're going to see a lot of different things that pop up in here. A lot of the usual stuff you will find that pop on here, but one that will catch your attention is the binary. This binary one is kind of sitting out there, so let's go ahead and run a strings on user binary. And looking at it, nothing too crazy in there, so let's go ahead and run it itself and see what pops up. And it says, I think you should enter the correct string here. Okay, let's try hello. All right. It killed it. It was not the right thing. So, okay, there's something going on here. Something a little interesting. So we need to figure out what the next step is. We kind of figured out this is the next step, but we got to figure out how to open it up more. So we want an L trace on the bin binary on there. It's going to intercept everything that's on there. And what you're going to see is that there's a bunch of different strings in there. If you grab one of the strings, drop it in, it's going to give you a little bit more, saying that there is a file hint.txt dropped in here. All right, so once you run the L trace and you actually find the exact word you need to put in there, you just run the user bin. Instead of running the L trace, drop the correct word in there and you'll get a copy from the root folder of a certain JPEG into your directory that you're currently in, which is home HeyCamBay. And now that you have this root JPEG, probably pretty pertinent, we want to copy this root.jpg over to the subdomain location, and then we want to head back over to our FTP, and we want to go ahead and log into our FTP. Once we get in there, we want to go ahead and get the root.jpg. Now that we have the root JPEG file here, let's go ahead and take a look at the JPEG. And when the JPEG actually opens, you can see that it's just basic picture hacker. HeyCamBay was here. Okay. But additionally, when you got that JPEG, it also gave you a hint, hex editor 00020 line means something. Okay. So let's follow the directions 100% that it is coming across here. So let's look at our hex editor. And when we look at the hex editor here, we see a line on the 20 line and the 30 line, and this is broken up by tens here. So let's go ahead and grab this here. Go ahead and copy it, and we know this is hex. Let's head back over here. Let's go ahead and pull up CyberChef. And while we're in here, let's go ahead and go. We're going to go from hex, and we're going to go to base 85. We're going to go ahead and drop that in there, which is the basic alphabet. Let's drop it in, and you're going to get the root password. So let's go ahead and grab that root password. Copy that. Come back over to the machine. Let's go ahead and change over to root. Let's drop in that password. Go on in. Let's head over to root. Oops, excuse me. And once we're in there, you'll see that there is actually a root.txt file there. Let's go ahead and tap the root.txt file. And there's your flag for the root. And we can go ahead and drop that in. And that should end the box for you. So again, this was a tough box, but I had a lot of fun with this box. A couple things you got to remember with this box that kind of throws you for a couple rabbit holes here is, one, the subdomain of the website instead of the actual website is the actual FTP directory you're working with. A couple other things that you're going to run into. If you don't get a proper shell on that Linux machine, you're not going to be able to run a switch user or an SU command on there. And then additionally, if you don't change over to your user and you're still just using the basic privileged reverse shell that you run from the PHP, you're not going to be able to execute an install of SuCrack on that machine. So those are some of the big tips that kind of threw me for a little bit and took me for some thinking that I'm going to impart to you as some knowledge on this machine, so it makes it a lot easier for you to walk through it. Not going to hand you all the answers, but I hope you have fun working through this box. It's a great box. It's one of the newer boxes. And my intent is to keep pushing out videos to you of newer boxes instead of some of the old boxes that are on TryHackMe, because I think it's kind of fun to get some of those ones while they still have some high points available for them. So again, thank you for watching this video. We're going to close it from here. Everybody, again, 25 subscribers. I mean, it's a low number right now to a lot of people. I think it's a great number for just starting off. Thank you again to all the subscribers and the fans. Always looking for more subscribers. So let's keep pushing that channel out there. Let's get this channel big. Love pushing these walkthroughs for you. And let's, again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, help out this channel, subscribe, and hit that bell for any time there's an alert. So with that, let's close out from Gyurdo Ranger. Thank you for watching this video. And again, stay safe, stay secure.